it away out. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, though.
Good evening, everyone. It is so good to see so many familiar faces, some we haven't seen for a while, others we see a lot and have seen a lot, and that's because we've been here for 25 years. It's hard to believe. 11 years ago today, I was welcomed into this unique and very sacred circle of what I consider radical hospitality. It was the 10th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, and it was the culmination of a labyrinth weekend. And just over 100 folks had walked the labyrinth, and on that Sunday evening, nearly 70 folks joined us in a community labyrinth walk. We left the labyrinth up, we sat around. Unfortunately, it's harder to get up now from a seated position on the floor. Anyway, nearly 70 of us took part in this phenomenal community walk. We walked together at the same time, and each step was taken in silence. And it was our way of sharing our very prayerful energy. And the only sound in this great room was the muffled vibration of many feet shuffling along the path of the labyrinth. If someone took a misstep, another of the pilgrims just gently nudged them back on the path. And when folks began crossing each other's paths, one pilgrim waited while the other moved beside, and then passing each other, they continued in their own direction. And this was really a very rhythmic energy of quiet and kindness and gentleness. And yet there was also a strong sense in the reason for being together at this time and in this space. And yes, we were all there to offer our prayers for peace in our lives, the community, and the world, but we were present in the celebration for a re-explosion of star. It was an outburst that we continue to celebrate this evening, and it's been 25 years in the making. The yellow roses and the sprigs of rosemary on the altar are reminders of our remembering what and who Star has become. Throughout the service this evening, we will hear voices, we'll listen to hands playing melodies, we'll taste the deliciousness of handcrafted goodies, all shared with us by Star Council members and others dedicated to loving Star into a blazing light that is and will continue to reflect in the world. So before we begin our service of celebration, recognizing the solemnity of this date, 9/11, we'll begin our time together with a moment of silence. And then we will share our prayerful energy for peace in a prayer led by Les Howard, followed by joining our voices in song. Let's have a moment of silence.
Please pray with me for peace. The blessing of God is love and peace. The blessing of God is seated in the hearts of all. I offer you peace. I offer you love. I offer you friendship. I see your beauty. I hear your need. I feel your feelings. My wisdom flows from the highest source. I salute the source in you. Let us work together for unity and love. The blessing of God is love and peace. The blessing of God is seated in the hearts of all. Amen.
Okay, this is one of those everybody gets to sing times. I'll run through a little tiny bit of this and get it in your ear so you'll know the key. And then when we get ready for it, every time come on and join in and let's sing it, all right? Let's see. All right, little introduction. time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Up on the mountain, my Lord spoke. Out his mouth came fire and smoke. All around me looks so shine. Ask my Lord if all was mine. Every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Yes, every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Jordan River runs right cold, chills the body, not the soul. Ain't but one train on this track, runs to heaven and right back. Every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Yes, every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Right.
Holy and poetic words from the Way of Life, according to Lao Tzu, the 6th century BC Chinese philosopher, mystic poet, and holy man, who it is said was immaculately conceived to a shooting star, carried in his mother's womb for 60 years and born white-haired, I'll say. His philosophy anticipated and contained the humanitarian philosophies which have succeeded it, conflicting with none of them, rather deepening them all. His words have connected not only mystically, but practically with the beginnings and ends of our action, our thought, our being. They offer a fundamental expression of everything in the heart and mind of all human beings, respecting, enjoying, and serving the common good. These are his words about the beginning of the way of life. And I quote, "Before creation, a presence existed, self-contained, complete, formless, voiceless, mateless, changeless, which yet pervaded itself with unending motherhood. Though there can be not name for it, I have called it the way of life. Perhaps I should have called it the fullness of life, since fullness implies widening into space, implies still further widening, implies widening until the circle is whole. In this sense, the way of life is fulfilled. Heaven is fulfilled, earth is fulfilled, and a fit man also is fulfilled. These are the 4 amplitudes of the universe. And a fit man is one of them, man rounding the way of earth rounding the way of heaven, heaven rounding the way of life, till the circle is full. Here ends the reading for the fullness of our star circle. That's called traveling music. Well, good evening.
My name is David Heatherly, and I have been with Star since the very first service, 25 years ago. Every service of Star, I can say, has changed me somehow. Who I was when I entered this church to the service was not the same person I was when I left. Star has without a doubt been the most influential spiritual experience I have had in my life. Whether you say, now that was really a great service, or I didn't get much out of that service, every service, I believe, was exactly the way it was supposed to be. I was and am always touched by whatever we came up with on that particular Sunday. I particularly enjoyed, as a memory here, I particularly enjoyed taking the Labyrinth to Atlanta in that little bus I hear in the back, rolled up and full of people too. We went to the International Labyrinth Society or Convention that for one day, where we set our wonderful labyrinth up in a meadow in the woods. It was beautiful. Everybody loved it. We spent several days as a Star community at Central College in Central Kentucky, where we celebrated with Matthew Fox and Andrew Harvey, and we were able to participate in a techno-cosmic mass, which was, without a doubt, life-changing for sure. I look forward to the next 25 years, and will learn and change with each service. But bottom line here is the most memorable part of the services are the many people who celebrate and have celebrated with us. People make Star what it is, for sure. I never ever felt comfortable in a church service before Star. I feel a part of this service, this community, and love all the people who create our circle. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rita Heatherly. I have been blessed with having Star as my spiritual community for 25 years and was a board member for 13 years. I would like to share with you a little bit of information about how we chose the name Sacred Traditions and Rituals. In the beginning, Susan Bennett was our ritual minister, and we had been calling the services Ancient Future Worship, which was true. However, it didn't quite ring a bell, and it didn't quite hit the spot. So at one of our task force meetings, Susan led us in a meditation exercise where we creatively would brainstorm and exchange many ideas and words for a name that would capture the essence of our mission, which was to have a creation spirituality celebration. According to Susan, I was the one that came up with putting the words together in order to create Sacred Traditions and Rituals, thereby creating the acronym STAR. Susan felt that it was important to come up with a phrase that would describe our mission. So Susan came up with the phrase, a call to connection. At last, voila, a star was born. Sacred Traditions and Rituals, a call to connection. Today we are grateful to have, and I mean very grateful to have, Sue Perrin as our ritual minister. She blesses us every day with her many gifts and her love. Because Star is organic, it continues to evolve. As Spirit works through all of us, Sue has reimagined the phrase, a call to connection, by adding and putting together the phrase, a call to connection for celebrating creation. This has captured even more clarity of what we celebrate. Thank you, Sue, and thank you, everyone. I love Star, and I love all of you. Namaste.
I am Joan McPherson. I have been a part of STAR since the very first planning stages 25 years ago. I think most of us had visited Jubilee in Asheville and had some similar dreams, along with Susan Bennett, for this new worship experience at Central on Sunday evenings once a month. All would participate in the service and the planning to whatever degree he or she would desire. The core of the major religions of the world would be honored. All would be welcome. Whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are welcome. One of my tenderest memories of a STAR service over these 25 years came one evening during our joys and concerns. A dear, dear man by the name of Jim Boland, who had been attending for some years with his partner, Franklin Dodds, stood very haltingly. He was sitting in his usual seat right over there that night, but I happened to be sitting right beside him. I do not even remember his ever standing before. It was difficult. He was a large man in his mid-80s and not in good health. I could see his hands shaking. We spoke our joys and concerns at that time from the circle. This night, Jim stood to speak. This is my memory. He stood with his voice trembling. My name is Jim Boland. I am a gay man. This is the first time in my life I have ever been able to stand and declare this publicly. Here is my partner, Franklin Dodds, whom I love and have been with for over 30 years. His voice cracked as the tears streamed down his cheek. He turned and looked lovingly at Franklin, and then carefully and slowly took his seat. Many of us were now wiping our own tears away. Franklin was a retired minister, and he had never been able to declare publicly his identity, his full identity, because he was a retired Methodist minister and he could lose his pension. But that night, we were given the honor and the privilege of bearing witness to a fuller truth of these two precious men whom we loved. Jim died about 5 years later. We celebrated his life with Franklin, once again gathering in our circle. Jim's special seat was left vacant. Sue, our minister of STAR, led the service. Whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are on your journey, we bid you welcome. These are not empty words. They have helped me claim my place here for 25 years, a place where I can bring all of me just as I am and know that I belong.
Now for the comic relief. I am Deborah Lester, and I've been a participant in STAR most of the past 25 years. I have many memories, births, deaths, mostly happy memories though. At first, I believe the minister, Susan Bennett, wanted to keep the group, not yet a circle, small, or she had to. We were allowed to meet in half of the area that is now used as a music or choir room. This is where you laugh. Here we go. I had no part in planning services. I just attended as often as possible. I worked a Sunday through Thursday schedule at the newspaper, so some months I missed service. When deciding the memory to share, I asked Sue's help to choose between the Christmas when we sat on hay bales in the dark or the first animal blessing. She chose the animals. And unfortunately, I didn't even think about painting the labyrinth. That was back when I could get down on the floor and get back up. Being Sue, though, she asked the impossible. What year was it when we had the first animal blessing? Well, I finally figured out, based on my kitty's surgeries, that it must have been October of 1998. You see, I brought my forever kitty to that service. He was a tuxedo, cutest little kitty in the world, named Normal. Using the little control I had at the newspaper at the time, I also assigned a photographer, Mike Bonner, who had met Normal before and was a cat person too. To quiet his yowling, Normal's, not Mike's, I had Normal out of his carrier and in my arms. Sue Ann Hurlbert, a vet and Central member, brought a sugar glider to be blessed and passed it around among the 10 to 12 attendees in the packed room. Dogs wanted to sniff the poor squirrel-like gliding opossum, and I was busy keeping Normal away from the tiny animal lest he think it was a mouse. Normal was busy climbing over my shoulder trying to get Mike to take him away from the chaos of the barking dogs. And that's when I think the date was October of 98, because Normie had only had one eye surgery by then. Susan did a blanket blessing then, and at subsequent animal blessings, which were held every other year because she didn't want to repeat a service annually. These were not the wonderful individualized blessings that Sue offers. And STAR has enriched me and changed me, and you are my family. I love you all.
I'm Andy Crosland, and my most memorable STAR moment was the first time I attended. It was October 27th, 2013, and I had a handwritten invitation from Sue for a service about cancer. It was the first STAR Tranquility with Tea service. Sue probably extended the invitation because my first wife, Phoebe, died of cancer in 2012. That was my first experience with deep grief. I was no longer who I had been for the previous 43 years of marriage. It was as if a large part of me had died with my wife, and what was left was not at all what had been. Things had begun to improve by the time I received and honored Sue's invitation, but I was still unmoored and lost, still at an important crossroads in my spiritual journey. That journey began as a fundamentalist Catholic in a small South Carolina town. After 3 years in a conservative Catholic college, I stepped away from that church and began a 30-year period of vacillating between atheism and agnosticism. This important spiritual experience was followed by nearly a decade of liberal mainline Protestantism, and I was turning toward mysticism at the time of my wife's death. When I returned to the church, I belonged to 2 different congregations. The first was much more conservative than I was, and it seemed so intent on bringing me in line with its views that I kept my real thoughts and beliefs mostly to myself. After I left that church, I joined another that was also conservative, but that had more tolerance for diversity. I no longer felt pressure to claim what I did not believe, but I was definitely still an outlier. I mention this because I was attending this second church when I came to Star that October evening nearly 9 years ago. Although I had no dramatic conversion that night, I did sense an openness, a playfulness, a chance to be myself, and a joy I had not seen in my other churches. So I came back. Over time, I realized that Star is not just tolerant of individual differences of belief, thought, lifestyle, or almost anything else. It also welcomes and celebrates these differences. You can be whoever you are at Star. Psychiatrist and spiritual director Gerald May once wrote, "Nature is willing for anything." He meant that nature is whatever we need it to be on our spiritual journey. Mentor, something to struggle against, teacher, healer, anything. For me, Star is willing for anything. It has no desire to impose anything on me, but it welcomes my moods, ideas, processes, all that I find and carry and dump as I make my spiritual way. That is exactly what I need and what I want in a spiritual group, and that is why I still come through that door on Sunday evenings. And Star has continued to be there as I have made my spiritual way. I eventually announced my engagement to my second wife, Elaine, as a Star Service Joy. I began a study in spiritual direction at the Hayden Institute that turned me toward the thinking of Carl Jung, and Sue was my spiritual director then. And as I continue to grow and to change, Star remains willing for anything, and I keep coming. Thank you.
Gosh, I don't get to stand over here much, but I'm honored to speak to you briefly. I've never told this group what I'm about to tell you, but in spring of '96, my first wife, Terry Cashin Jeter, died of a brain tumor. And to say that my world was completely wrecked is an understatement. Our daughters at that time were 14, 12, and 6 years old. And sometimes this old man isn't quite sure what direction to take. But guess what wonderful group of people started meeting soon thereafter. I think within the next year, thanks to so many of you and thanks to Susan Bennett. In the old fellowship hall, there appeared this odd but terrific organization called STAR. I didn't go every time, but enjoyed the times I did, and Susan and I were music buddies. She played in my handbell choir and sang in the chancel choir, and she said, "Al, I need you to come do a little this. So, of course, I'm happy to. Jack Bowman provided the official music at the time. He was our organist. Then, after Jack left, Susan said, "Well, Al," and I started being the music guy that fall of 2000, excuse me, I've got my years all mixed up. So 2000, I've 22 years of providing music to this wonderful crowd. This year starts 23. It's been a rollicking, wonderful ride. Often the things that we planned didn't go according to plan, but it's okay. We have danced, we have sung, we have done the seasons, we have sung to one another, and I love you all for it. Aside from just the music, you've been sort of my support group as I've told you about my daughter's exploits over the years. From those early years, now they're 40, 38, and 32, and everybody's doing well. Amanda and her partner Kelly are about to have a big wedding celebration on October 1st, and that means I've got them all through college, and everybody's married, and at least I've reached some kind of a plateau, and I'm delighted. Part of that delight translates into something Sue asked me to do. She said, "Al, we need a STAR theme song." I thought, okay, yeah, we do. And she said, and sure would like it if you'd consider writing that. And I said, okay. So I started walking around. I've been trying to control this big old body. And as I walked, I came across some words that just sort of came to mind. And you'll see them there. Let me read that to you first. Sacred traditions and rituals has given us a space where all are welcome and feel God's love together in this place. Many friends have gathered here for 25 years so far. Come meet and worship with all of us, and I love this part, catch a shining star. Now, I want you to just get a sense, the melody is not hard, but Sue said, should we give? I said, yes, give them the words and the music. These are sensible people and they want to sing. We're going to do a dry run first, and then we're going to do it upright. Here's the dry run. Let me give you your starting note, and I'll lead the way. Okay. Here we go. Just work your way through it. You'll be fine. Sacred traditions and rituals has given us a space where all are welcome and feel God's love together in this place. Many friends have gathered here for 25 years so far. Bum, ba-bum, bum, bum, bum. Come meet and worship with all of us and catch a shining star. Easy, right? Easy. All right, now, with accompaniment. Okay, let's see what we got going on here. Sacred traditions and rituals has given us a space where all are welcome and feel God's love together in this place. Many friends have gathered and catch a shining star. Thank you.
Al's wonderful. We are grateful. We mentioned about sharing our joys and concerns. We're going to do a little of that. Are there joys, are there concerns that you might like to share with us this evening? That's okay. Yeah.
I probably talk louder now. My name is Dee Goforth, and I see a lot of new faces, for I've been gone for 2.5 years. And I was very sick. I got the most beautiful cards, flowers, food, phone calls. There's no way to write a note. There's not a piece of paper big enough to thank Star for what they kept me going. Because staying in a home or a hospital that long, it takes something away from you. But I kept my smile. I've always been known, they call me Sunshine.
Okay, you're going to have to step up and walk over here. Really, but the Zoom people can't hear you. That's why you have to talk.
Our granddaughter just had her 17th birthday the other day, and on the Queen's passing, it occurred to me that when I was on the ship going to New Zealand to take a job to run a sheep farm, the Queen and her new husband, well, relatively new husband, in 1963, came on their royal yacht, the Britannica, complete with Rolls Royce, to Fiji, and the capital of Fiji is Suva. So we had arrived on the ship on the way to New Zealand, and the Britannica had come around at the same time, and I was standing on the main street in Suva, and everybody starts applauding and standing at attention, and here comes this Rolls Royce with about 4 feet away from me with the Queen in it. She was 37 years old at the time. Was she driving? No. No.
My name is Wanda Stewart, and for a little bit more comic relief, recently I have begun studying sound healing, which means you have singing crystal bowls and all that kind of paraphernalia. I would very much like to buy a gong, but I live in a townhome right now, and and if I invest in one, I'd like to be able to play it without the neighbors calling the cops. So, I currently have a lease that will be up at the end of December. If any of you know of a single-family home that's available, I'm looking, and yes, I will be a bit noisy. Thank you.
My name is Vera Jeter Jones, originally from Union County, know you. And I want to thank all of you. Recently, at least 9 weeks ago, I had cancer, colon surgery. And you all remembered me in your prayers. You sent me cards. Joan brought me food. And I just thank all of you, and God is still in the healing business, and thank you so much. And I was here to speak for you all early on. I am your past president of Church of Women United of Spartanburg County, and your state president. Thank you.
Let's sing, shall we? All these joys, all these concerns. See, we can do this. We can do this, can't we? We're sensible people, right? Our offering, you all who have been here so many years, well, at least the past 11, have heard me stand up here time and time again and say the same words, that it is because of you, each one of you, in the sharing of your creative energy, your time, your talent, and your treasure. We would not be here if it were not for your support. That's why the second and fourth Sunday evenings and more, we can be here because of your generosity. Okay, who is going to pass the offering stars? We have one, we have two. Wonderful. And while they are being passed around, Peter is going to play something for us. And again, we are honored that you are here this evening worshiping with us, and we are so very, very grateful for your generosity.
We invoke the Great Spirit, Wankantaka, to enter our circle and lead us into the great mystery of existence and purpose. A very important part of Star Celebration is to invoke the great mystery, Wankantaka. She has lived from the beginning of time. She lives in the present time and yet is timeless. The cosmic Christ captures the essence that lives in all things, from the smallest, unseeable creature to the infinite spaces of the universe. He is both matter and spirit. An important aspect of Star is that all are sacred. A stone is a stone, but also has a spirit and a connection to all things in the circle. A feather of a bird is a feather, and yet it has a spirit and is connected through this known and unknown force of love and adoration for all. Star is a community of love and connection where all is sacred. What you bring to our circle is matter and spirit. This circle is an incarnation of both.
We hold a feather and a rock so that they may pray with us. Their language communicates to our hearts. Our star celebrations are a story. Our lives are stories. We offer burning sage to introduce this plant's story of her desire to heal our hurts. Yes, sage is a plant, but also a spirit with a story. Watch the smoke rise as the sage burns and shows us the infinite shapes of the divine. The beating of the buffalo drum tells us a story of sound and also allows us to hear our mother's heartbeat, which is ours also. The haunting and magical sounds of the flute provide sound, but also tells us the beauty of the flute's personal story within this circle. This is Star. Facing east, the grandmothers and the grandfathers of the East tell us that through our own pain we can find the Holy One. Such is how Spirit tells her story. This is Star.
Facing to the south, this way please.
All together. All together now. Our star celebration salutes the light within our eyes where the whole universe dwells. For when you are at the center within you, I am at the center within me. We shall be one. This is our sacred circle. This is Star.
Facing to the south, the grandmothers and the grandfathers of the South tell us to listen to our sister the wind. She speaks to us in a language as old as time and is only understood by our hearts. She is matter and spirit. She tells us about the goodness of creation and tells us unknown things we do not know. This is Star. All together, our star celebration salutes the light within our eyes where the universe dwells. For when you are at the center within you, and I am at the center within me, we shall be one. This is our sacred circle. This is a star. Quarter turn to the right, facing to the west. North. That's the west.
I'm so confused. I'm so confused. Okay, facing west. The grandmothers and the grandfathers of the West Tell us our lives are a spiral of awe and delight, of darkness and of suffering, of creativity and of passion. This is where we do our inner work. This is where we find ourselves. This is STAR. Altogether, our STAR celebration salutes the light within our eyes where the whole universe dwells. For when you are at the center within you, and I am at the center within me, we shall be one. This is our sacred circle. This is STAR.
Quarter turn to the right, facing to the north. The grandmothers and the grandfathers of the north tell us to take care of our great mother. We walk upon her very skin. She feeds our bodies, and she also feeds our spirit. This is STAR. Altogether, our STAR celebration salutes the light within our eyes, where the whole universe dwells. For when you are at the center within you, and I am the center within me, we shall be one. This is our sacred circle. This is STAR. Facing to the center.
The grandmothers and the grandfathers of the center space tell us to look around this sacred circle and see the stories, the diversity, and the Holy One in every face. This is STAR. Altogether, our STAR celebration salutes the light within our eyes where the whole universe dwells. For when you are at the center within you, and I am at the center within me, we shall be one. This is our sacred circle. This is STAR. Namaste. Please be seated.
Please join me in the responsive prayer for the blessing of STAR in sharing communion. The loaf of bread is a blessing that we break and eat, and we are not taking into ourselves the substantial substance which is the very essence of Christ. The cup of wine is a blessing which we pour and drink. Are we not taking into ourselves the essential energies, which is the very essence of Christ? In blessing this bread and this wine, our manyness becomes oneness. When we take and eat, take and drink, we are blessed with the substantial substance and essential energies, the very essence of Christ. Then, as one, we become blessings for many. This is us, and this is STAR. Amen. Everyone is invited to the altar to share in the greatest thanksgiving at one of the communion stations. We invite your blessing for STAR after being blessed with bread and wine or grapes.
Would you please join your voices with me in the responsive prayer of greatest thanksgiving found in your service sheet? How will we reflect our thankfulness for our manyness becoming oneness, God's new Jerusalem, including all of us? By being a community of messengers who proclaim and remind one another and all of creation that the Christ has died, the Christ has risen, the Christ comes again. He is with us always whenever we forgive those who hurt us, invest in those who are vulnerable, relieve those who are in pain, feed those who are hungry, give water to those who are thirsty, provide shelter for those who are homeless, donate clothes for those who are naked, share the table and eat with those whom others consider unworthy. In caring for all of us, amazing Creator, we make this declaration. We have been formed in your image to be part of your new Jerusalem, which we are grateful for receiving a taste of in this meal. Please use this food to strengthen us to be your joy and hopeful resurrection and star community, experiencing and sharing your new Jerusalem filled with love, justice, and mutuality. Flow through us, healing God. This is our prayer of greatest thanksgiving. Amen.
Before we sing, a point of privilege. There is a wonderful person sitting in this circle who has fed us, who has cared for us with refreshments, and all during the pandemic. She made chocolate suckers for us. She put together the Day of the Dead meal for us. And at this point, I would like to have Sandra Garrett come up here, and we are presenting you with the Golden Spoon Award, presented to Sandra Garrett, Star Chef Extraordinaire, for keeping our taste buds tingling with love and greatest thanks. Sacred Traditions and Rituals, September 11th, 2022.
Gee whiz, thank you. You know, to tell you the truth, today I got up and it was very sad. I think the passing of the Queen sort of like brought back the passing of my child. You don't know what this group has done for me. It's given me purpose. It's given me a place to go to worship. It's given me a place to heal, especially now. Some of you know that I'm raising my 7-year-old grandson, and he brings me lots of joy and experiences and adventures. But I've enjoyed cooking and doing for all of you. It has become like a wondrous thing for me. Thank you. This is wonderful.
This isn't the end of Sandra's contributions. Hardly. All right, we've prayed about the New Jerusalem. Now we're going to sing about it. Let's all stand up as we end our time together before we share some of Sandra's wonderful goodies that she has made many of, and other hands have contributed as well. All right, Al. Continue to practice. I want to become part of your story more than I hope you will become part of mine, because when we do this, we are practicing hospitalogists. This is who we are. Each and every one of us who gather together, offering a spiritual recharging station in this sacred space we have come to know as Star. Amen. And now let's celebrate.